Hey, welcome back, everybody. As Max has said, we have another round of cold weather that's on the way later this week, next week. But a lot of you have asked on Facebook and on social media, why does our cell phone apps sometimes say something different than what you're saying on KBTX? So let's ask him. Chief Meteorologist Max Crawford.
Let us ask.
Let us ask.
I will say, I look at that now as more of a form of job security, where it just used to kind of annoy me. Now I think more people are seeing that on their, stock apps on Android or Apple and saying, well, what the heck is that? And so let's go ask Max.
Let me share with our viewers something I've already shared with you. So remember the weather we had last week. The week before that, I was in line at a local coffee shop, and some nice young ladies said, we're so happy there's going to be a blizzard here next week. And I said, who said that? Who said there's going to be a blizzard? And they said, well, our weather app. I said, which weather app?
Yeah.
Apple, the Apple weather app. I said, no. Follow the local. So the serious question is, why is the weather apps on our phone, the Apple weather app, or even social media content generators, why are their forecasts so different than what you're putting out?
I think the biggest and clearest answer to that is that ours is human influenced. And what you'll get with those stock weather apps, if you're waking up one morning and you just need to know what the temperature is, you need to know what the high temperature of the day is, that's probably going to be
they're pretty accurate
for you. Right. Sure. But the farther and farther you go out, like any forecast, the less accurate it gets. And what a lot of those stock apps will do is they will take one model, and maybe in this age of AI, they will attempt to kind of correct it if it looks a little weird or whatever, but clearly that hadn't happened yet. But it'll take one model on that one model run that happens 4 times a day, and it'll see snow and it'll ping that and it'll just place that on the icon.
And then what you'll also see are these social media weather enthusiast driven pages.
Right.
Will take that one thing and say, massive snow coming to Texas. And what you see are a lot of clicks, a lot of engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of those folks know what they're doing. A lot of them really don't know the harm that they're causing. I think it's all in about how you consume it, because there are people that I've even talked to on my Facebook page who have said, I follow those guys mainly just because I'm a weather enthusiast. I follow you too. That's how I kind of consume my information.
Some of it's interesting content.
Some of it is interesting. A lot of it is interesting.
Not knocking it.
Right. And a lot of it is, well, it's not based in reality.
Some of it's hype.
Yeah, exactly. And some people, again, they do that on purpose. Other people are just weather enthusiasts. They have access to model data just like you and I do, and they say, oh, look what this says. It's when they try to influence the decisions of people and the decision makers that's where it becomes a little bit of a problem. But like I mentioned earlier, that's a job security in a new age of misinformation, where you can go to your local meteorologist and say, hey, I saw this.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
I've caught myself doing that a lot lately, where I see a hype post about weather, and then I'll go to your page where you're bringing us a little bit more back into reality.
You try to be a little bit more even keeled with it, right? But at the same time, like I mentioned, I'm looking at the same weather model data that they are. I think that's where the education comes into play, knowing the geography of your area, knowing how history is played out. And so whenever you're making, especially a winter weather forecast, you become a little bit of a historian, and you say, okay, what situations in the Brazos Valley have we been in where there's actually been wintry precip? And so you kind of compare that to what models are saying, how far that data is out, and you make your decisions from there.
You got the human component.
Absolutely.
Of all of this.
There's the pattern recognition that goes into it first, and then you can start to talk specifics when you get closer.
Got about a minute left, and I want to ask you, because you've mentioned this sometimes, that in the winter, that 10-day forecast becomes a little bit more tricky to do a long-term forecast than maybe what we see in the spring and the summer. Why?
Right. I think the easiest answer to that, the most succinct one, is that you're a lot more prone to the changing weather in the winter and at the changing of seasons than you are on a summer forecast. I mean, you can talk about the tropics, but a lot of times if you know the upper level patterns and what about they're going to stay like, you can kind of assume, the next 2 weeks, I think tropical activity, we're good. But when it comes to winter, these little ripples in the jet stream, especially if it's cold enough, man, you've got a snow shower. Perfect example of that was back in December of 2017 when we didn't have snow in the forecast.
We were all surprised.
We had some flurries in the forecast, right? We ended up with 5.5 inches. Winter weather is very, very difficult to forecast even way up there, but especially here in Texas, all of those ingredients have to come together at once, and models just aren't good at picking that up. So that's why the human is, at least for now, still important.
Or what Max called job security.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about a little bit more on what's on the 10-day forecast coming up after this.